let us talk Tennessee at Ohio State. I mentioned when we did the game time ad, the prices for this are very reasonable. Tennessee fans are highly motivated and have been waiting for a game like this for a long time. Ohio State fans, your athletic director, Ross Bjork, mentioned this the other day. I will point this out again. Like, you better buy these suckers up or there's going to be a lot of orange in that stadium.
Well, isn't that like a thing? Like, isn't that like what people are saying, that Tennessee is buying all the tickets on purpose?
They're trying. Like, they were trying to use AI. I saw on Twitter people talking about themselves trying to use AI generated photos of themselves in Ohio State gear to get on the Ohio State ticket buying website.
Just buy them on Game Time. They're not that expensive, right?
Well, exactly. Especially for the Tennessee fans. Again, there's a lot of Tennessee fans. They're highly motivated. I'm telling you, Ohio State fans, you may need to protect your stadium here.
Well, here's the thing. Covering Ohio State for 10 years, I went to every Ohio State football game for a decade. And there have been a lot of instances of Ohio State doing the OHIO chant in opposing stadiums in the fourth quarter when the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like 100%. I've seen that a lot in my life. I have never seen Ohio Stadium taken over by another team.
No.
Now, there have been fans celebrating at the end when they've lost games, but I've never
seen but it's that one little corner where that's their section and that's it. Yeah.
I have not seen opposing fan base come in and do that. So I know that morale is really down in Columbus. And I think there is at least semi-large segment of fans that are out on Ryan Day and won't buy tickets as long as he's the coach there anymore. But I also am doubtful that it's going to be a sea of orange on Saturday. So I don't know what your thought on that is, but if it is, that would be incredible. I've never seen anything like that.
I can't imagine it. I just can't. Because Ohio State and Tennessee's fan bases are very similar. Ohio State is just bigger. As big as Tennessee's fan base is, Ohio State is bigger. And in terms of passion, I'd say they're probably pretty close, and they're both kind of at the top. So
Go Vols in here says he's estimating that 30% of the stadium will be Tennessee.
That would be incredible. I cannot imagine. I just can't imagine it. I really
30% would be high. I think if Tennessee has the best possible turnout, 25% would be an incredible show. I don't know. But also, if Tennessee is successful in taking over their stadium, then that is a really bad look for Ryan Day too, because that you don't want that if you're the athletic director. So here's the question about the game. Who's a better team?
They both have their flaws, and that's what I keep coming back to. Ohio State probably player for player has the better roster, but best daily fantasy game in America. Download the app. Use the code Staples. Play $5. Get $50 instantly. They've already started to populate the board for this weekend's college football playoff games. I'm looking at the rushing yard board for the Ohio State-Tennessee game. Will Howard, 10.5, more or less. We've fallen into that particular bear trap before, Ari. Because Will Howard does not usually wind up running for a bunch. Nico's is 19.5. That's a tricky one, too, because Nico's one of those guys that can get that all in one play, and then you just sort of count back sacks to see if you end up with the more than. So that's a tricky square as well. Dylan Sampson, though, I think this may be the key to the game here. 93.5 rushing yards, more or less. When you're playing Prize Pick, you pick a square. You go as few as 2 squares. You can pick more squares if you want. The more squares you pick, the higher the potential payout. That Dylan Sampson, 93.5 rushing yards. Whoo, boy, if he goes more than that, I think we may be talking about a Tennessee victory in this game. But if Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins are running the ball very well, then it may be Ohio State winning the game. But could play it on Prize Picks. Download the app. Use the code Staples. Play $5. Get $50 instantly. Who has the better running game? This is the question I've asked myself. Because we talk about the weather. We're talking about the weather affecting the game, and it's supposed to be 15 degrees at game time. And I pointed out that it snowed in Knoxville last week and it gets cold in Knoxville too. But like, it's more of a stylistic thing where the weather matters. Which team do you trust to run the ball better? I think that might be Tennessee for me.
I don't trust Ohio State to do anything.
That's scary when you talk about a roster like that.
How could you?
After the Michigan game, it's very hard.
Like, I get accused of being a homer for Ohio State all the time because I'm very complimentary of their players because they have really good players. Ohio State has shown me nothing this year that makes me think I should lay two.
Okay, all right. Here we go. Let me. I don't know if I'm playing devil's advocate or if I'm talking myself into this. Other than the Michigan game, which you and I have said was clearly some mental blocked, like rent-free in the head people going against their own best interest stylistically to try to beat Michigan in a way that I guess would make you seem more manly or something. I don't know.
You're going galaxy brain here. Yeah, I love it.
No, but let's think about this. They played Oregon to a 1-point game on the road. They beat Penn State on the road.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not trying to beat somebody at their own game, which is not their style, which is what they did against Michigan, and they just play their style, they're still better than almost everybody.
Are they better than Tennessee? That's who they're playing.
Which Tennessee? Which Tennessee? Tennessee that went to Arkansas? Tennessee that played Alabama? Which Tennessee are we talking about? Tennessee that went to Georgia?
So here's the thing about this
the Tennessee that went to Georgia will lose this game.
Yeah. I think Ohio State could cover the spread if they play really well and they're motivated, they draw up a good game plan, and they throw the ball to their receivers. I'm saying that I don't trust them to do that.
I don't either.
Why would I?
I don't trust Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen Nico overthrow receivers. We've seen Nico throw accurately and the receivers drop the ball. Then we saw the Vanderbilt game where that's what it looks like when it actually all works. But we haven't seen it all work that much.
So anybody who has followed my coverage this year, especially written, have been pretty high on Tennessee's ceiling, right? If Nico, who has a long time to continue to develop into the player, plays well, they are fine. Okay. Now, the one thing that I think you have to look statistically is that Tennessee statistically has one of the worst offenses in the playoff. So there is a lot of onus on Nico taking the next step and them hitting some balls downfield, which they've struggled to do this year. But you have one of the best running backs in college football on your team. You're going to run the ball. Ohio State's offensive line is not great now.
This is the part. I'm glad you brought this up because this is really the part. Good. This is the part where it gets interesting. Ohio State offensive line versus Tennessee D line. Now, Tennessee does not have anybody up the middle on the level of Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant. They do on the edge with James Pierce, but their talent up the middle is probably deeper than almost any team in the country. Like, there are 4 NFL defensive tackles that they rotate through.
I just don't know how you can lay 2 scores when you have a team's weakness going up against the team's strength in the most critical spot in the game. Now, here's the question that we haven't mentioned either. Is Ohio State just mentally broken right now? Like, I think that there is a level of that where, 2 years ago, Ohio State lost to Michigan and they played Georgia really well. And like everybody is like kind of pointing back to that. But this one feels different because Ohio State lost to Michigan 2 years ago, was out of the playoff, and lost to a good Michigan team and was like hurt that they lost, but got themselves back up off the mat when they unexpectedly still got into the playoff and were playing with an extra life that they didn't know they had. This year, Ohio State knew it was going to the playoff and got beaten by a bad team at home. I don't care what their uniforms are. They played like ass. Their game plan was ass. And like everything about that game was a complete and utter failure, both from a performance standpoint and a coaching standpoint. So now you're going to tell me that they have 3 weeks to sulk in that, and they're going to be motivated by that, and they're going to be great when
Now, I've seen it once before, and so have you, but it was a different head coach.
We saw it in a different circumstance.
No, 2015, they lose to Michigan State. They make some changes because, like, Zeke Elliott pops off, and they're like, oh, maybe we should get the play in a little faster.
Oh,
and
you're
then
talking about the Notre Dame
Michigan
game?
the next week. No, they lost
Michigan,
Michigan State, destroyed Michigan.
They beat Notre Dame by 100 in the Cotton Bowl. Yeah, but I don't know. So, like, let me ask you it this way then. Do you have faith in Ryan Day to emotionally have his team ready? And do you believe in Ryan Day to be prepared for this?
Not after the Michigan game. He's going to have to prove it.
I'm taking the points.
I am taking the points as well.
I think Tennessee can win outright. Yeah.
I think Tennessee can win outright, but I feel comfortable getting more than a touchdown either way.
And if Tennessee wins, they have to plant a flag.
I think there's going to be a ring of state troop. It's not illegal yet, right? They didn't pass the bill, so I'm not sure how the legislative calendar works in Ohio.
I just don't want anybody to catch a felony for past. Yeah. So someone goes, "Do you really think that Ohio State players are sulking?" I don't think that like Jeremiah Smith is crying in his dorm room every night. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's an emotional hangover. I'm
not worried about the players on that front.
And it's also not just a player thing. It's the coaches and their ability to pick themselves up and design an offense. And then on top of it, they have personnel deficiencies that Tennessee can exploit. So it seems like like Ohio State laying 7.5 seems like a lot of points. We'll see if I'm wrong, but never once like had that like gut feeling of like, oh yeah, go get Ohio State. The Ohio State that played Georgia 2 years ago is going to show up. It's like that team had a really good offensive line too, and this team has some deficiencies on that front that can torpedo their entire offense. So we'll see how it goes. But Tennessee has been very proud on Twitter the last few weeks. I don't know if you've seen Vol Nation and all the graphics that they've been posting. Very funny. That one that River showed me when we were in Nashville last week was hilarious, of the uniform reveal that Tennessee had, and it was just Michigan's uniform. Like, they have been very creative and very fun. They're very confident.
They should be.
Put up or shut up time now, I guess.
They've been waiting for this for a long time. Ohio State is coming off a just gutting loss. This is Ohio State's chance to get up off the mat. This is Tennessee's chance to prove they belong. This is the most fun matchup of this college football playoff so far.
We've been saying all year that Tennessee has it if they have the pieces, if they put it together to make a run, right?
Yep. We're going to find out. We're going to find out what happens. We're going to be there. Ari, I cannot wait for this weekend. We're going to be in South Bend on Friday night. We're going to be in Columbus on Saturday night. These games are going to be awesome.